Okay, good morning, students. We'll now move on to our seventh lecture under this module. In the previous session, we discussed how to develop a MapReduce application in Hadoop environment and how to use the configuration API and how it can be used to combine the resources and finally variable expansion. Through configuration API, if there are any default configurations that are already set, that can be overridden by adding resources through this configuration API. And also, if you want to add multiple resources, it can be made possible. But in such cases, the latestly added resources will override the properties in old resource files. Okay, and in variable expansion, we have seen how to add two different properties or multiple properties in order to set them and add as resource. Now, in today's lecture, we are going to focus on setting up the development environment using Maven building tool and how to manage the configuration files and how to use generic options parser, a class which is used to override the properties that are given in configuration files from command line arguments. Using this generic options parser, you can override the existing properties in the configuration files by passing customized properties through command line. Okay, and this generic options parser uses tool runner and tool interfaces in order to execute this generic options parser. Generic options parser is not directly used from the command line interface, but it in turn is implemented by tool and tool runner. Code. Now let us first see how we set up the development environment for a project. The first step is to create project so you can build MapReduce programs and run them in local or standalone mode from the command line or within your IDE. So how to start a MapReduce project? When you are writing the map and reduce functions and want it to execute within a project, right? So how to create a project here? The first, how to start working with this development environment. Use programs, and first you have to run them on your on your local machine in a pseudo distributed mode, either from the command line argument, or if you are using an integrated development environment, through that integrated development environment you can run and see your project. Now for that we generally use Maven build automation tool. Maven is a build automation tool which helps us to build the projects quickly by just attaching various components in the interface. Okay, so generally whenever we do whenever we develop projects in manual manner, you have to connect each and every phase manually by writing some code. But because of this build automation tools, you can develop the projects very easily just by connecting different components which are already coded, right? So the Maven project object model will show the dependencies needed for building and testing MapReduce programs. So when you are developing your project in a Maven environment by using Maven project object model, in such cases, it itself will show us the dependencies needed for building and testing MapReduce programs. So if you want to embed any MapReduce programs into your Maven environment, that will show us all the dependencies that are required in order to build our MapReduce programs and test them. Now for building MapReduce jobs, you only need to have the Hadoop core dependency, which contains all the Hadoop classes. Okay, so if you want to develop a the automated build tool, then you have to have this dependency, Hadoop core dependency, which contains all the Hadoop classes. So if you download this XML file, Hadoop core XML file, that will support all the dependencies that are required to execute a MapReduce job. Now for running unit tests, we may use JUnit, Java unit. What do we mean by unit tests? I explained you in the previous class. If every block of functionality have to be tested, they can be followed by unit tests, which will give us some expected results. Now, if we want to check whether the whether the obtained result is actually equal to the expected result or not, in such cases, you can write these unit tests. This will help us to perform each and every unit of your code at a smaller scale before deploying it onto HDFS cluster. Okay, so for running unit tests, we use JUnit as well as a couple of helper libraries. What are the other two libraries we are using? HamCrestAll and MRUnit. HamCrestAll provides useful matches for writing test assertions. Why do we need test assertions? You know, right? Usage of assert that. Assert that is a method which will help us to compare what is expected and what is actually obtained as a result. Okay, and whenever both are matched, it will, both are not matched, then it will raise an exception, right? That is the use of assertions. Now, HamCrestAll provides useful matches for writing the test assertions, whether expected result is equal to the original result or not. In order to write that assertions, you will have useful matches in the library called as HamCrestAll. And you have one more helper library, MRUnit, which represents MapReduce unit, which is used to write MapReduce tests. If you want to execute any tests with respect to map and reduce jobs, for that you can use MRUnit. Now the Hadoop test library contains the mini clusters that are useful for testing with Hadoop clusters running in a single JVM. Now remember, always you try to execute your MapReduce programs at a smaller scale, only then you deploy it onto a larger cluster. In such cases, if you want to test on mini clusters, if you want to test your code in a pseudo distributed mode on a single machine, in such cases you can use this library to execute that task. Hadoop test library contains the mini clusters that are useful for testing with Hadoop clusters running in a single JVM machine, in a pseudo distributed mode. Okay, so many IDEs can read Maven POMs, project object models, directly. So you can just point them at the directory containing the pom.xml file and start writing code. That is the easiness we have in using this Maven building automation tool. All the IDEs, most of the IDEs in Maven can directly read the XML files. So you can just point to the POM XML file and start writing your code. You need not again configure all the properties that are required. You can just make your project point to this .xml file and start writing your code, so that all the plugins, all the associations, all the configurations, all the dependencies will be brought into your project development environment automatically once you point to this pom.xml file. Right? So alternatively, you can use Maven to generate configuration files for your IDE. So what is other alternative you have with this Maven? You can use Maven to generate configuration files that can be used within your integrated development environment. You may be working with Eclipse, or you may be working with Python IDE. You may have different selections of your coding environment, right? So you can use Maven to generate configuration files for your IDE you're using. Now, for example, the following creates this command, the following command creates Eclipse configuration files, so you can import the project into Eclipse. So if you want to import the Maven project into your Eclipse IDE, into your Eclipse environment, then what kind of command you can use? percentage Maven, MVN stands for Maven. You're bringing into your Eclipse environment. What you're getting? The sources, download all the sources that are required to build your project and all the Java docs. Both you're enabling it to true. And this -d indicates that these properties can be overridden. You're trying to override the existing properties of Maven with your customized properties. What are the two properties you're trying to set? The source files you're downloading and the Java documents also. If you want to use some native methods of your Java language, in such cases, you should also download the Java docs and set it to true. And any source files in Maven, that also you are setting it to true. So you're bringing the Maven features, you're bringing the Java features into your Eclipse environment in order to build your project. Okay, that is what we mean by this command. Now, when developing Hadoop applications, it is common to switch between running the application locally and running it on a cluster. Why do we need to do this? You develop some code it at the cluster level. Now, if you add some more features, extra features, then again those features have to be run at the local level and then only they can be transported to the cluster level. So you have to switch between the cluster and the local environments, right? That is why we say this. When developing Hadoop applications, it is common to switch between running the application in your local machine and running it on a Sorry, students, I lost the connection in the middle. Can anyone tell me where we stopped? I'll just say, share the screen. You're with me till this slide? Students, are you able to hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Till where did you stay in the connection? This slide? This slide is done?
No, ma'am.
This one?
Yes, yes, ma'am. This one.
Okay, this command is explained?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Then we'll go to the next slide. Yeah. Now, in order to manage the configurations when developing Hadoop applications, it is, let me start from beginning once again. Yeah, when developing Hadoop applications, it is common to switch between running the application locally and running it on a cluster, right? Whenever you want to test something, whenever you want to test your MapReduce code, first you test it at a local level, then you test it at the cluster level. Now, when you're doing this, you have to switch between these two tasks. It is not that you can complete your entire testing process on a local machine and then go to the cluster. Now, if at all some new features have to be added, in such cases, you may have to come back again to your local mode, test it at the local level, new features that are being added, you have to test it at the local level first. If they are working fine without any errors, only then you have to go back to your cluster mode once again. So you have to frequently switch between these two scenarios, local mode and the cluster mode. Now, one way to accommodate these variations is to have Hadoop configuration files containing the connection settings for each cluster you run against and specify which one you are using when you run Hadoop applications or tools. So when you're working with multiple clusters, you have to specify on which cluster you're going to test your MapReduce job. Only then it will be easy to locate, it will be easy to differentiate between the executing clusters. Now, as a matter of best practice, it is recommended to keep these files outside Hadoop's installation directory. All the configuration files have to be kept separately from Hadoop's installation directory tree, as this makes easy to switch between Hadoop versions, pseudo distributed mode and the cluster mode. It will be easy to switch without duplicating or losing the settings. That is why it is always advisable to keep your configuration files separate from your Hadoop's installation directory tree. Now let us assume the existence of a directory called CONF, a directory called CONF that contains three configuration files. What are the three configuration files? By default, we have Hadoop local.xml. Listen carefully. Hadoop local.xml file is a configuration file that contains all the configurations, all the properties that are set for your local machine. And you also have Hadoop localhost.xml, which contains the properties that are set for the name node and the job tracker running on the same local machine. And you also have Hadoop cluster, which has all the properties that are set for a cluster. Okay, so you have three default configuration files that are available for any MapReduce job. Hadoop local if it is running in a pseudo distributed mode, Hadoop local host if it is running name node and job tracker also on the pseudo distributed mode, and Hadoop cluster if it is being run on a, if the MapReduce job is being run on a cluster, right? They pack up some configuration settings. Now the Hadoop local XML file contains the default Hadoop configuration for the default file system and the job tracker. Let us see now. Local file contains for the default file system and job tracker. Local host contains name node and the job tracker. Okay. Now this is representing a .xml file. Here it is Hadoop local.xml file, which contains the configuration information. That is why you can see that they are enclosed between the configuration tags, which indicates this is the configuration information for Hadoop local file. Now, what are the properties that have been set in this file? These will not be that simple, but we are just taking, for example, two properties to be explained. Okay, in this property, what is the name of the property and the value of the property that it is set to? The name of the property that is set is fs default name. What is the file system default name that we are passing? The default file system path we can pass here as the value. And what is one more property that is set? Map reduce job tracker. We are setting the map reduce job tracker to the local machine itself. Okay, on this local machine, we are having the local file system that is set, and we are having the job tracker also that is set. Means for this map reduce job, you are taking the local machine to act as the job tracker itself. For that, you are setting these two configuration properties in Hadoop local.xml file. Now, the settings in Hadoop localhost.xml point to a name node and the job tracker, both running on localhost. Say if you're not using a local file system, you're using a file system which is indicated by the name node. You know that file system, you know that name node manages namespace image and edit log, right? This namespace image contains details of all the file systems that are available. Now, if you want to set your local host to point to name node and job tracker both running on your local host, then you have to set two properties. One is fs default name. Now you are setting to your local host, indicating that name node is running on your local host. And the second property that you are setting is the job tracker, and job tracker also is running on the same host, same local host, but it is listening on the port number 8021. Okay, name node your local machine is performing different roles here. It is acting as a job tracker, it is acting as a name node, it can act as a task tracker also. So in order to make them execute multiple roles, you can make them listen on multiple port numbers. Okay, here after making the default name set to localhost for the name node, you are also taking the job tracker and making it to listen on port number 8021 on the same machine. Got it? These are the settings made done in Hadoop localhost.xml. Now finally, what is the remaining .xml file you have? Hadoop cluster.xml. This contains details of the cluster's name node and job tracker addresses. Remember, now you are trying to run it on a cluster, not in a pseudo distributed mode. So this XML file details contains the cluster's name node and job tracker addresses. In practice, you would name the file after the name of the cluster rather than cluster. So don't give simply a cluster to indicate that it is running on a cluster. Better have an identification to it, because you may be running multiple MapReduce jobs on multiple clusters at the same time. So to differentiate between the clusters, it is always better to give the cluster name rather than just indicating it as a cluster. Okay, now in this configuration file, what are the properties that are being set? File system's default name. Now we are setting it to a name node. Because you are running it on a cluster, you have name node, data node, job tracker, task tracker separately. Or sometimes they may run on same machine also, in cluster as well. Remember, not only in pseudo distributed mode. Now on this cluster, you are setting the default file system to a name node machine, and you are taking a job tracker and assigning it to a particular machine listening on a port number. Here we have indicated it as 8021, right? These are the settings that are done in Hadoop cluster.xml. Now let me show the file in which all these XML files are defined so that you will have a clear picture before going to next concept. Can you see the screen? Setting up the development environment. In your notes, I have provided to you the lecture notes contain some content which is highlighted with gray color like this. All this need not be remembered for your exam. It is just for the sake of your understanding I have given in your notes. Okay? Do not get panicked. All these need not be remembered for your exam to write it in your exam, right? But how they exactly look like, you should have a feel of that. For that, I have given this in the notes. Now, let me explain or let me show you how a Maven POM for building and testing a MapReduce application look like. Now, when you're taking this Maven POM, you're taking a project object model. So all the XML codes that you have are embedded in this project tag. Can you see this project tag? Bhavisha, can you confirm? Can you see this project tag?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Under this project tag, you're trying to add some group IDs, model version and group IDs. In this group ID, you're taking Hadoop book, means this belongs to a group called as Hadoop book. Now, the main thing to understand is this artifact. Artifact is like an object which you are trying to add to your configuration file. Here, what object you are adding? Hadoop book map reduce DEV. Okay, this artifact you are adding. You are adding a Hadoop book for your map reduce development environment. Now, in this artifact, you are setting the properties. What properties you are setting? Project build source encoding and project reporting output encoding. You are giving the encoding versions for source as well as the output, and we are selecting that as UTF-8. You have various types of encodings, and here you are selecting it as UTF-8. Now, the Hadoop main artifact. What is the main artifact you are adding as dependencies? What you're doing in this XML file is you're adding the main Hadoop book, you're adding the main Hadoop artifact for MapReduce job, and you're adding all the Hadoop main artifacts also. These main artifacts are the dependencies. Dependencies means the various properties that are required in order to execute a MapReduce job within your Maven environment. Okay, all these dependencies are being connected. Remember, you're writing a Java MapReduce job, but how can you make sure that it is compatible with the Maven environment? By using these dependencies, by keeping these dependencies in place, by making your project point to these XML files to get all these dependencies in place in order to make your MapReduce job work in Maven environment, to show it as a complete project. Got it? Now, under this dependencies, you are adding Hadoop main artifact, and it belongs to the group ID org.apache.hadoop, and you are adding the Hadoop core file here. Hadoop core file here as an artifact, and you are also adding unit test artifacts. If you want to perform any unit tests at a smaller scale to know that your code is working without any errors, for that, what are the unit test artifacts you have? JUnit and MRUnit. We have also seen, yeah, JUnit with helper libraries, Hamcrest all, and MRUnit. Observe this carefully. You are adding unit test artifacts as Java unit test. Get this artifact, which takes help of two helper libraries. I have explained it in the theory. Two helper libraries, Hamcrest all and MapReduce unit. Okay, these two helper libraries along with JUnit will enable you to write unit tests in Maven environment. Okay, so you're setting up these dependencies so that the compatibility can be achieved. Now we are writing, you're also having Hadoop test artifacts for running mini clusters. Say if you want to run your code on your local machine in a pseudo distributed mode, but having the properties of a cluster. In such cases, you can use Hadoop test artifacts for running mini clusters, right? For this, you are adding Hadoop test artifact. The Hadoop test artifact is associated with mini clusters to run tests on mini clusters. Now, there are other dependencies like Jersey core, which will enable you to run your code on mini clusters. And finally, you have some Maven plugins. If you want to complete the entire set of dependencies, if you want to get all your code to be compatible with your Maven application, with your Maven environment, you have to add some plugins also. You have to bring some plugins into your local environment, that is Maven compiler plugins, right? All these are added into your Maven, into your .xml file, and it completes your project XML file. Okay, this is how you have an XML file with various dependencies in order to make your MapReduce jobs work in a project development environment. Okay, this is just for your understanding. Do not worry, you need not present this in your exam. Now let us continue with our lecture on generic options parser. Next topic. Next topic is on generic options parser, which enable the user to pass some properties through command line argument and make them override or make them take priority over the existing properties. Okay, that can be done by using generic options parser, which implements tool interface and tool runner classes. Right? Now Hadoop comes with a few helper classes for making it easier to run jobs from the command line. And generic options parser is one such class that interprets common Hadoop command line options and sets them on a configuration object for your application to use as desired. Now you pass various command line arguments like file paths or argument vectors or string vectors. All these you will be passing through command line argument. But if you want to set some configuration properties through command line argument, that can be enabled only by this generic option parser. Now you don't usually use this generic options parser directly, as it is more convenient to implement the tool interface and run your application with the tool runner, which uses generic options parser internally. So when you implement tool interface and when you extend the tool runner class, in such cases, they in background call this generic options parser to execute this entire task internally. Okay, so you can take this template here to understand in the beginning. Public interface, you are taking the interface tool which extends the configurable class, and it has a method run that is declared, which will help us to run this command line argument to make the properties to be set to the default properties. Okay, so you can pass the properties through command line through this run method, which can be made to set the default properties in your configuration file. Now let us see an example tool implementation for printing the properties in a configuration. So if you want to print the properties in a configuration file, how do you do it? By implementing the tool interface that we are going to see here. Now you are creating a class called as configuration printer because you are aiming to print all the configuration properties in a particular file. And this extends configured class which implements the tool interface. Okay, this class we are writing extends the configured class and it implements the tool interface. Now in the static block, what you're doing, you're adding all the default resources which has some default properties. Now these default properties can be set from the command line by using this generic options parser, not directly, but which implements tool and tool runner. Got it? Now in this static block, what you are adding? You are adding the default resources provided by HDFS default resources provided by HDFS site. HDFS site.xml indicates site specific properties. Default indicates all the default properties and site HDFS site.xml indicates all the site specific properties, that cluster specific properties. And map reduce default again has the default properties and map reduce site.xml again has the site specific properties. Now you are giving an annotation called override which tells us that this function what we are going to use now is actually an overriding function which is overriding the function declared in your tool class, tool interface. Okay. So you're overriding this run method by creating a configuration object, and for every key value pair that is taken from the configuration file, for every key value what you're obtaining in configuration into this configuration object, you're getting all the configurations from the default resources. Remember, understand carefully. When you're creating a configuration object, CONF, what you're doing, you're getting all the configuration information from the default files that are added as resources to this configuration class. Got it? Now, from that, you have them as key value pairs. Why you have them as key value pairs? The key represents the name of the property and the value represents to which value that property is set to. Right? So you're getting it in the form of key value pairs from the configuration object, which has all the property details that are retrieved from these default files. Now you're trying to print them onto the screen. Very simple, right? All the configuration details you're fetching from the default resources and printing it onto the standard output. How you're doing that? You're getting the details into entry. So entry.getKey and entry.getValue. Entry has the key value pairs, the property and its value. So you're trying to give the property name and its value that it is set to and printing it on the screen. Okay, now in the main function, what you're doing, in the main function, you're calling run method of tool runner class. You're calling the run method of tool runner class, which creates a new configuration printer class interface. This class you're creating, right? This class's object is created. This class's object is created along with the command line arguments. What are these command line arguments? The command line arguments that you pass as parameters, the property values that you want to reset, the property values that you want to override the existing resource values, the existing configuration values in the resource files. Those will be passed as command line arguments by executing this configuration printer class, and you're handing it over to the run method of tool runner class. And as long as the configuration values are fetched from all these files, this will be in a running mode. So it returns 0. But once all the configuration properties are fetched and no more properties are to be displayed, then it returns 1. Now, when this exit code returns, when this exit code gets the value of 1, it will exit from the execution. It will exit from the execution of this program. You're giving system.exit, which takes exit code as parameter. Now, as long as you're fetching the properties from the resource files, it displays those properties. Once that task is complete, it returns exit code as 1, which exits this entire execution process. Okay, this is how tool and tool runner will execute generic options parser in the background. We make configuration printer a subclass of configured. That is what we have done, right? We have taken it as a subclass, as a small child class of the superclass configured, which is an implementation of the configurable interface. This configured class is also an implementation of the configurable interface. Why we are using this configurable interface? In order to configure your default properties in the resource files through the command line arguments by using tool and tool runner, which executes generic options parser in the background. This is the flow. You have to understand this. Now, all implementations of tool need to implement configurable, since tool extends it, and subclassing configured is often the easiest way to achieve this. That is why we have extended this configured superclass. Now, the run method obtains the configuration using configurables get configuration method. We are using that here, right? Get configuration method. This get configuration method will fetch all the configuration properties from the resource files, right? So the run method obtains the configuration using configurables get configuration method and then iterates over it again and again, printing each property from the resource files to your standard output onto your screen to see what are the properties that are set. Now the static block makes sure that the HDFS and MapReduce configurations are picked up in addition to the core ones. Okay, so because we have this, we have it in a static block that will be run when that when that class is invoked. Okay, when that class is invoked automatically, it makes sure that the HDFS and MapReduce configurations are picked up in addition to the core ones that are existing, core properties that are existing. Now, configuration printer's main method does not invoke its own run method directly. So what does it do? Instead, we call tool runner static run method. We are not taking configuration printers, we are not taking the tool runners, tools run method. We are taking it as tool runner static run method, which takes care of creating a configuration object for the tool before calling its run method. So this run method will help us to actually fetch the properties from the resource files and display it on the screen. Now, tool runner also uses generic options parser to pick up any standard options specified on the command line and to set them on the configuration instance. So all the values are being picked up from the existing resource files, and generic options parser will help us to replace those properties with the properties passed through command line, with properties passed as command line arguments. Now we can see the effect of picking up the properties specified in configuration localhost.xml by running the following command. We have 4 more minutes. I'll try to complete that. Now we can see the effect of picking up the properties specified in this configuration directory, which are stored under Hadoop localhost.xml by running the following command. What is the command we are using? %maven compile. You are trying to compile the maven file here. The flow you have built through maven, you are trying to compile it and export Hadoop class path as the target classes, to which target classes we are addressing these properties. And you are using Hadoop command in order to execute this class, Java class what we have written, that is configuration printer, and we are taking all the configurations from the localhost.xml. Now you are trying to override it with the command line argument by using the grep command. What is this grep command? Regular expression, compiler regular expression. When you are not compiler, regular expression that is used during running the process. Okay, so any regular expression that is passed during the running of this command will be taken and assigned to the default properties. For that, we are using this G regular expression command, which overrides the map reduce job trackers property with this property passed as command line argument. What is the property? Map reduce job dot tracker. We are giving it as local host. Okay, we are getting it as local host, listening on port number 8021. Now, generic options parser also allows you to set individual properties. Not only all the properties at a time, not only the entire job trackers properties. If you want to set the individual properties, still that is also possible by using the Hadoop command. Get the configuration printer. Now we are trying to override. -D indicates you're overriding the existing resource files properties, configuration files properties with color yellow. Here, regular expression tries to match it with the property. Why we are using this regular expression? To match it with the name of the property in the configuration file. Now, what is the property you are trying to address? Color property. That is why you have given it in the regular expression. Now, we are trying to address the color property in the configuration file, in the default XML file, and you are trying to override it with the color yellow. Now, when you want to fetch that property, you can see that the color is set to yellow recently. Okay. Now, the -D option is used to set the configuration property with key color to the value yellow. Now, options specified with D, as I said, take priority over properties from the configuration files. So, if you want to make your command line arguments to take priority over the existing default properties or over the properties mentioned in the configuration files, then you have to indicate with this -D. That is what you have done here, right? And this is very useful because you can put defaults into configuration files and then override them with -D option as needed. So you just add defaults in the beginning of the project development. Later, based on your requirement, you can set the properties or override the existing properties from the command line directly. Now, common example of this is setting the number of reducers for a map reduce job via map reduce task. I'll explain this clearly. Now, when you're asking through command line argument to override map reduce task to n. Why we do this? Initially, we may not have idea about how many reduced tasks have to be included in a map reduce job. We may have one reduced job, two reduced jobs, or no reduced jobs, such that map tasks execute in parallel and write to the file system directly. You have seen that in your scaling out topic. Remember, you can opt to have number of reduced tasks or no reduced tasks at all. In such cases, you can initially give some amount of reduced tasks, and later, based on your requirement, if your processing task is too large, then you may increase the number of reduced tasks. If the processing task is smaller, you can reduce the number of reduced tasks. Okay, or say if you are using a combiner function in the middle of map and reduce task, that will reduce the load of reduced tasks, where you can reduce the number of your reduced tasks in your map reduce job. In such cases, you may have to override the default reduced task. For that, you can use this command -D map reduce task set to the new number, either 1 or 2 or many. Now, this will override the number of reducers set on the cluster or set in any client-side configuration files. Okay, so you need not decide everything in the beginning. Just give them some default values, and based on your requirement, you can override the default values through your command line argument by tool and tool runner, which actually implements your generic options parser class in the background. In the forthcoming sessions, we are going to again focus on writing a unit test with MapReduce unit and running locally on test data and testing the drivers. These tasks are, these concepts are little complicated, so you have to repeatedly go through the explanations to get clear picture of them, right? Okay, we'll meet in the next class.